Hello families, my name is Felicia Wright, and in this video we're going to be talking about how to create your own homeschooling co-op. I've had a lot of families ask me how to find one, how to create one, so I want to definitely dive in. So here are the things I want you to consider if you're thinking about creating your own homeschooling co-op. So the first thing is I want you to create a purpose for this co-op. So when you're creating the purpose of the co-op, I want you to think of two primary goals for the co-op. So for example, you might be thinking, oh, I really want my children to start doing art class and I want them to do it with other kids. So two primary goals for your co-op could be art and socialization for your kids. So that would be your two primary goals. Or you might say, like, I want my kids to be doing more math with other kids, like working together. So it'd be maybe socialization and math. So the reason why you want to know what your two primary goals are for your co-op is because when you start to advertise and ask other people to join you, they're going to be like, okay, well, what's it for? And you'll be like, I think I want to do it. You want to know ahead of time, like, why they should join your co-op and what the purpose is. So that's the first thing. Next thing is you have to find people and advertise. So the best way to find people I have found is when I go out with my girls, because they're my older ones, when I go out with them and we're out in the community when public school kids are in school, it's pretty easy to spot other homeschoolers, kids that are school age, but they're not in school. So it's actually pretty easy to spot. And I'm not suggesting you just walk up to strangers and be like, do you homeschool? Do you want to do a co-op with me? But when I take my girls to the library, like today we went to the library, for example, there were other school age children there. And I talked to the mom and turns out she was a homeschooler. So we're kind of easy to spot during these school hours. And you can just start having a conversation like, hey, I'm actually considering starting this co-op. Is that something you'd be interested in? So that's one way to just start to get into the homeschooling community and talking to other parents. You can also start to advertise on Facebook. Facebook is a huge social media platform, and I find that a lot of parents tend to be on Facebook. That's why I mentioned Facebook. You can hop into some local groups and be like, hey, I'm starting this art co-op. Is anybody interested? And see who reaches out. So that's the best way to find people that might be interested in your co-op. The next thing is you have to determine for yourself, where do you want this co-op to meet? So I find that the library is just always a great choice. It's a public space that has plenty of seating and tables for kids to work together. My local library actually has a homeschooling center that's actually closed off from the rest of the library, so the kids can actually be kind of loud and talking while in the library. So I love the library for that. And another thing you should consider as far as a place is the park. Maybe your primary goal is socialization. So you want to go to the park with other friends. That's a perfect place to do it. You can do art outside. I'm using art as an example, but there's a ton of things that you can do. You can even have a math day outside. Have all the kids with a clipboard and they all do math and count things in nature. The sky's the limit when it really comes to figuring out where you're going to meet. You can also meet in your home, but some people don't want to do that, and that's fine. But there's plenty of public spaces where you can meet up with each other. So the next thing I want you to think about is structure. So how are you going to structure your co-op time? And the reason why I bring this up is because no one wants to get together and be like, hey, we're going to have this co-op. We're going to get the kids together. It's going to be so amazing. And you all get together and then we're all staring at each other. I'm like, okay, well, what are we doing? Been here for 20 minutes. Like, what are we doing? So it's important to have a structure. And I personally like a loosey-goosey structure, like an overview of like, well, this is what we're going to do. If we get off track, which happens, it's okay. But you want to go into a meeting with your co-op with a structure in place. So for example, if you are running the art co-op, you would say, okay, we're going to make we're going to paint rainbows and talk about rainbows today. So this is a younger co-op, obviously. We're going to paint rainbows today and it's going to be so amazing. And we're going to structure, say you're meeting for an hour, we're going to allot 30 minutes for that. We're going to paint and read a book. And then the last 30 minutes, 20 minutes, we're going to have free play time, because we also want the kids to socialize together. So that would be, I consider a loosey-goosey structure, but at least you have something in place as to what you're going to do as a co-op. So also keep that in mind. The next thing I want you to think about is the age range that you want for this co-op. So I'm assuming that by creating this co-op, you want to create it for your own family. So for example, I have 3 kids, but 2 of them are school aged, 5 and 7. And if I want to create a co-op for my girls, I would create an age range from probably 5 to 8 that all get together for whatever my primary goal is. Say it's art. It's important to put that in there, because if you just say, I'm going to start a co-op, yay, you're going to get everybody reaching out. Well, not everybody, but you're going to get a lot of people reaching out, and it might be high schoolers that are reaching out to you, or parents of high schoolers that are reaching out to you. And you're not going to want that. I mean, what would a high schooler have in common with my 7-year-old, right? They're not going to want to work together. So think about the age range that you want for the co-op. And I wouldn't make it too large, because again, you want the kids working together and talking together. And if the age range is too large and my 5-year-old is hanging out with a 13-year-old, they have nothing in common. Mine's going to be talking about kindy kids, and the high schooler is going to be talking about TikTok. So it's not going to work out. So keep that in mind when creating your co-op, and when you advertise, definitely include that age range. And the last thing I want to talk about is communication. Communication is so key when creating a co-op. How are you and the other parents going to communicate? So granted, when you advertise, you'll probably take everybody's number, but you want to create like a text thread or a Facebook Messenger thread where you can all get together and talk about what's going on and coordinate. Because if you are creating this co-op and you're running the activities, maybe you want somebody else in charge of getting supplies or bringing supplies, or you're on the way to the library to start the co-op and be like, hey, text the thread and say, hey, I forgot pencils this time. Can somebody bring pencils? So you want something that's already put in place. So when those things happen, you can text and be like, hey, I need help. Who can help me? And because a co-op, I consider a community as well. So you want to lean on your community of like-minded people to help you out, because it can be hard being the only one doing the structure and bringing the supplies. So these are some of the things you want to consider when creating your co-op. So that's all I have for you today. If you're thinking about creating a co-op, let me know in the comments below if you have any questions. And if you need help starting your homeschooling journey, I want to invite you to head over to FeliciaWright.com, and I have a service called Rent a Teacher, so you can rent me for an hour and I can help you with whatever you need. So until next time, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and I'll see you next time.